Hi guys, we're going to mix the format of these videos up a little bit. Sunderland have just drawn 1-1 with Middlesbrough at the Riverside Stadium in the Championship. I'm going to list through my positives and negatives from the game, starting with the positives. Leo Yelder started at left back following his move from Leeds United. I thought he had a good game, few tricky moments, but he certainly grew into proceedings. Tough game to come into at left back against Middlesbrough. A local rivalry, intense fixture. I thought he did well. There was a few stray passes. You would expect that sort of learning a new football club, learning about his new teammates, but I thought he really grew into it. For the most part, I think it was a really impressive debut. It's good to have that balance in the squad now. Having a left footer at left back is good. He's strong. He seems fairly quick. He seemed to link up with Clarke fairly well at times. As I say, not the perfect debut. There was, a couple of times he was out of position, but hopefully that'll come as he grows into the role. Now, the really interesting thing about Yelder coming in was that it allowed Trey Hume to go to right back. Now, I'm a massive fan of this. Trey Hume is one of my favourite players at Sunderland, and I think he is so much better at right back than he is at left back. Don't get me wrong, he's a competent left back, but when you get Trey Hume at right back, you get another attacking outlet. And I think you saw that from Sunderland in the first half. Big fella Trey Hume, loves a tackle. I think having him on the right, Yelder on the left, obviously Dan Ballard and Luke O'Nien in there as well. I think that's the makings of a really, really good defence, while the likes of Sirkin and Huggins are out for a long stretch of time. Obviously, Aji Elisi expected back at some point as well. Rusyn's equaliser. I think Rusyn has to start now for me for Sunderland going forward. I know Burstow scored a couple of weeks ago against Stoke, but for me, Rusyn is the man. You can tell he's got that little bit more experience. He's a little bit more older. He wants to grab the game by the scruff of the neck. He's direct. He's full of running. He wants to take responsibility. He knows where the goal is. He scored 2 for the under-21s midweek. He's followed that up with a goal again today. You've got to take a chance. And you've got to have shots at goal at times, and Rusyn's showing signs of really doing that. Obviously, he scored against Preston, his first goal for the club, then he was back out the side, and then he wasn't preferred to Burstow for this one, who had scored in the previous game against Stoke, to be fair to Burstow. But I think in the Rusyn versus Burstow debate, I am siding with Rusyn. I think it's tough for Burstow. I know Sunderland don't look to play sort of front foot ball in behind defences and get strikers in that way. But yeah, for me, Rusyn is the man now going forward. I think he has to start the next game against Plymouth Argyle. I think Sunderland did show a bit of grit, a bit of determination to come back from a goal down away from home against Middlesbrough. I think that's a massive, massive positive. Jack Clarke, I mean, that was his 17th goal contribution today with the assist, 4th assist of the season, 13 goals, just a man in mesmeric form. And what was really positive, actually, was that he spoke to Sky Sports News after the game. They obviously asked about the transfer situation. It's my understanding that Lazio had 2 bids knocked back for Jack Clarke by Sunderland, one on deadline day as well. Clarke was asked about that, and he said he's really happy at Sunderland. He enjoys pulling the Sunderland shirt on. You can see that in his performances. That's really, really good news for Sunderland. Hopefully, maybe we're all hoping we could get to the summer and perhaps persuade Jack Clarke to extend his contract. That is probably unlikely given the money and wages that are going to be on the table from elsewhere in the summer. But it's good that he is still at Sunderland, and he's going to be at Sunderland for at least another 6 months. That's a huge positive. I think you have to credit Michael Beale as well. His subs did change the game. Roberts on for Barr, Rusyn on for Burstow. Excuse me, my laptop is just dinging there. So Roberts on for Barr, Rusyn on for Burstow. They did change the game. Sunderland managed to get the equaliser after. He actually brought everybody in to the touchline to give them a sort of a pep talk, and that did seem to have an effect. Sunderland did get the equaliser. That's a positive. Hopefully he can start to stamp his authority on this squad now. So those were the positives. We're going to talk about the negatives now. There are a few. Just in terms of the game as a whole, I'm a big Sam Greenwood fan. I would have liked to see Sunderland re-sign Sam Greenwood, but he signed for Middlesbrough in the summer. I understand that was a better deal presented to him by Middlesbrough in terms of covering wages at Leeds United and a loan fee as well. Sunderland were interested. He didn't come back to his boyhood hometown club. He scored against Sunderland at the Stadium of Light earlier this season, but how he wasn't booked in this game, I have absolutely no idea. He was an absolute pest. He was a menace. He was doing the sort of things that if Luke O'Nien was doing them, we would have, we would have been lauding it. But a great performance from him actually for Middlesbrough. I thought he tormented Sunderland at times, really fast, direct, in behind. But yeah, he should have been booked a lot sooner than he was. And just to go on to my next point, again, another negative in terms of the game. Middlesbrough's free kick for the goal was an absolutely brilliant move, training ground work to perfection. But it wasn't. I don't think it was a foul on Dan Neil in the build-up. I really don't. So perhaps Middlesbrough got a little bit of fortune there. Another negative, Abdullah Bar. He has to score that in the first half. How he hasn't scored that, I'm not sure. It's great work from Jack Clarke to get to the byline. Abdullah Bar, the goal is gaping. It is tremendous defending from the Middlesbrough defender on the line, but you have got to score those. And with Abdullah Bar, sometimes it feels like we get 2 steps forward, 1 step back. He's been in good form. I think he got 3 assists in his last 2, scored a goal as well. You would have put your mortgage on a player scoring that. Yes, it's good defending, but you've got to take the net off. It's tough. Patrick Roberts is now fit. He came on in the second half. Does he now get that starting place back? Personally, despite the fact that Roberts hasn't scored or assisted yet this season, I think Roberts provides a better option. We will see going forward. I like Abdullah Bar, but yeah, that was a bad miss. I think Sunderland's midfield had problems as well during this game. For me, Joe Bellingham, he does look tired. He looked out of sorts today. I know the plan is to play him as much as possible, to increase his value, to get him as much experience, to upskill him, and that's great. It's working. He's done wonders for Sunderland this season, and he's playing with a maturity beyond his years, in my opinion, but he just needs a little bit of a rest. A lot of the comparisons I see online, and it's a valid comparison, and one I've thought of myself, is Callum Doyle during that League One season. He was burnt out. He played every game for Sunderland up until about January, February, and he was knackered, and Alex Neil actually didn't play with him towards the end of his of that League One season, and he was dropped and he was in and out of the side just because he was so jaded and so knackered. They were a similar age, Callum Doyle was a similar age to what Job is now. I think the last negative for me, Sunderland were really, really poor at parts in that second half, to the point where I was sort of questioning whether we actually deserved a point. Sort of thinking, is Michael Beale a man motivator, in a sense that Sunderland came out for the second half and they were really, really poor. Michael Beale's subs changed the game, but could they have come sooner? Could he have sort of been more proactive? Possibly, yes. But yeah, I think on balance, it's a good point away from home. I'm struggling with the style of Sunderland at the moment. I think when you don't win football games, it is a tough watch. But credit to Michael Beale for changing the game. Credit to Sunderland for sort of bouncing back from that Middlesbrough goal. Anyway, please let me know what you thought of the game. Were Sunderland lucky to get a point? Did Middlesbrough deserve more? What did you think of the referee? What did you think of Sam Greenwood's antics? And, so are you reassessing your opinions on Michael Beale now following, 4 points in 2 games? And, where do Sunderland go from here? Is the playoffs, is it a reasonable expectation? Can they get there? Let me know your thoughts. I want to hear them. And thank you for everybody that's been commenting on the recent videos. Really appreciate that. Make sure you hit the like and the subscribe button. And yeah, thanks very much for watching.